It's one of those Jersey Shore landmarks that's lasted for more than 100 years and grown in its size and popularity. It's Delicious Orchards here on Route 34 in Colts Neck. I'm Vin Avenue here with Mike McDonald, one of the owners here of this fantastic place. The sights, the sounds, the smells, every time I come in here it's like, what's baking today? I want to go through the history, but I want to talk about how this has become so popular over the last 100 years, last few decades. So how has this place grown? How has it become popular? What you offer and the different cafes, the different parts of this place?
Yeah. The Delicious Orchards journey is a long one. Like you said, we've been around for more than 100 years now. So what started, Carol Barkley planted about 100 acres of apple trees over 100 years ago. It was actually his grandfather who started it.
Okay.
But Carol Barkley in the 50s, after World War II, there was kind of a surplus of apples. So all these guys who grew apples didn't know what to do with them. After the war had ended, there wasn't a big pull for them, so the industry crashed. And so they were in desperate times. And so what they tried to do was take that wholesale market and turn it into a retail market. So they built a 1,200 square foot little building on 537 and started selling apples. Just apples, and Carol's wife, Janet Barkley, started making pies. It's the recipe we still use today. So that was in 1959. Started making pies, started selling the apples. He started making the apple cider donuts about a year or two later. And it was an immediate success. I mean, they just blew up. It was kind of a new concept for the time, kind of that direct farm to table idea. And it went crazy. So very quickly they had to kind of readjust the game plan. You know, the business plan wasn't working. They were blocking up traffic on 537. And so about 5 years later, 1964, they built the building that's now where we are today. So on Route 34, just because the highway could handle the traffic, which is what a great problem. And that's kind of where the Delicious Orchards people know today really started. So we took the model that worked there, the apple cider donuts, the pies, and they were able to grow that here. So we did expansions in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. Delicious Orchards, as you kind of see it today, became that. The transition from their family to our family happened. My dad started working here when he was 19, and that's actually where he met my mom. They were both working here, my dad just he not a college guy, not an academic guy, just a brilliant guy who kind of has a knack for business and numbers and dealing with people. And so him and two other guys bought out the Barkley family, and then we did another takeover for our family. So now it's me, my brother. I have two sisters, so it's Carrie, Chris, me, Mike, Erin, and my parents. So we're all still actively involved in the business. Yeah.
So from the very beginning, apples were the primary product, and still are still the central product.
Exactly.
How did that recipe, the apple pie recipe, get passed down? Is it something you guys keep in the kitchen, or is it something you have?
It's kind of vaulted. I was gonna say
I'm not trying to get you to fish some kind of.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not spilling beans on anything. I think we tell people this too. I think kind of I don't want to sound cheesy about it, but we actually care what we put into it. So even like we use the best sugar, the best vanilla, every ingredient we use in the pie and have from day one is the best ingredient. And I think that good things start with good ingredients. You know, you can't build something or make something if you're starting with something that's not great. So obviously the apples, the crust, I mean that we make them the same way because we think it's the best way to make it. Absolutely, we could make it cheaper, we could make it faster, we could change that. That would change who we are and what we make. And I think that's a lot of the backbone of our success is that we care about how we make it and what we make it with.
Now the apples are always fresh. I know I personally confess that I've had the apples. They're fresh, they're not brown, they taste juicy and sweet and everything. Do you do a lot of the work with the farming here, just outside there with farming, with preparation? Do you grow a lot of apples throughout the year? Yeah,
so we grow a fair amount of things on our property. We've also, the business outpaced what we could grow pretty early on. So we've had to work with local farmers, local growers a lot. And people don't know that, but we actually have partnerships with I mean, you name it in the industry, we've all been doing it a long time, so we're friends, and so we help each other out. You know, if somebody's short on this apple, we can trade for this apple. It's kind of an old school model that doesn't really exist anymore. But yeah, it's fun. So, but that also is how we keep things fresh. You know, maintaining that quality and valuing what we're doing really drives a lot of how we grow things and what we put into our stuff and how we do it.
Now, is that model the same for the rest of the produce that you have here in terms of farmers and farming?
Exactly. Yep. We grow what we can. We source what we can. We talk with farmers. We talk about, oh, you know, we're growing a lot of squash. You're growing, you know, that type of thing. Those relationships, they work well, and that is absolutely how we operate our whole produce. It's why our produce, people always ask, like, how do you make it better? And how do you guys do it the way you do it? And my answer is always, we've been doing it for 100 years, so there's just some experience involved in that to factor in all the variables that go into, you know, growing and selling produce.
I want to circle back to one of the more popular things that go from the apples, the apple cider donuts, the apple cider, cold cider, hot cider. It's something that no matter what other people are coming here to get, they can go grab a bag of donuts or a thing of cider or even on the way out.
Yep. We do a lot.
How did that become so popular? How did that idea come to be? And you know,
so the donuts, it's funny too because Carol Bart, he's still he's still alive. Carol, we call him Grandpa Skip. But Grandpa Skip always tells the story of when he started making the donuts, and he had to use like a wooden stick, and he had a tiny fryer, and it was a concept that people thought was a bad idea and it was a waste of money, and we're thankful he stuck with it. But yeah, that's our most popular item. So last year we did about 1.3 million donuts. And we do it, it's kind of like it's exactly like our pies in that it's an old school, but we haven't changed the recipe at all. We have staff that's been back there for decades that knows how to make it, that trains new people, so there's consistency. And we don't use any preservatives. That's a big thing for us in any of our bakery ingredients. So people ask, oh, is it fresh? And I'm like, oh, it's fresh. You'd know if it wasn't because we made it today, and that's why it tastes the same way you've had it when you had it 10 years ago. And if it's not sold that day, we're really proud of the system too. We work with the local food bank, the Barn for the Poor. Okay. So anything that we don't sell that day, because it has no preservatives, it's really not good anymore. In that we don't want to hold it for multiple days, but it can be eaten that day. So a truck comes every night and picks up all of our waste that we can't really sell, and they bring it to, right now they're going to the Bronx, and they help feed people who need it. So that's both with our bakery, but also our produce. So we want to work towards like a zero waste type model. So all the edibles are going somewhere that they should, and all the unedibles we try and compost and work into the farm.
Now this is a place that is not just popular for Monmouth and Ocean County residents, but throughout the state, and even people out of the state. How has this become so popular? Is it just through the word of mouth, or is it, you know, you getting to talk to people who are just visiting the Jersey Shore?
Yeah, I think we're proud of the generational following that we've built, and I think consistency is so important and a value in what we do, and the way even that we treat our customers and our employees is just that matters a lot to us. Having 10 of these is really not, that wouldn't be something I'd be like, oh, then we've achieved success, and our family all feels that way. Doing what we do really well is something we're proud of, and I think that customers both in Monmouth and Ocean and the bigger, you know, New Jersey and tri-state area know that. And I think that both that my dad and they know that those values are being passed down. You know, that's the way we operate as well. You know, it's the way my dad operated, it's the way Grandpa Skip operated, it's the way our kids will operate it. You know? So, yeah.
I know the apple pie recipe has already been eliminated. It's something that everybody wants to know, but won't be able to find out. Understand?
Yep,
I respect that. But what are some of the things maybe about Delicious Orchards that you think many people don't know or don't know much about?
That's a good question. Something that still happens. I mean, I love when this happens, but my mom, I mean, we are all this way, but my mom and dad still work on the floor. So my dad still stocks produce. My mom, you'll typically see behind the coffee counter. I would say customers know them from working here, but they don't actually know that they own the store. And it's a really funny thing when you'll have it's not something my dad, my mom and dad don't have a need to share that with me. It's not something that they care as much about as having a relationship. And so it's always fun when people don't know who we are, or that they just know that we're people they see every week, that we know, they know our kids, we know each other's families and what we've been through, and we kind of do life together. But when they find out that we own the store, it's always funny, especially with my dad. They're like, wait, you stock produce every day. And my dad's like, but this is what I love. Like, I love to get my hands dirty. I love to be with people. I love to work. And that, I love it. And I think that matters too in what we do, because we're such a part of it. It isn't, employees don't work for us. We work with them. It's a team and a family kind of mentality. And I think that's why our turnover rate, especially for the food service industry, is shockingly low. I mean, all of our managers have been here for decades. I mean, our newest manager she's about my age, she's 35 or so, and she's been here for 15 years. So, and she's like the newbie to the group. And so it's kind of fun that our family is not just the people with the McDonald last name. It's everyone. It's even the high school kids that only work here for a couple of years, but we become a part of their life, a part of their story. So it's fun.
Mike, thanks for the time.
Hey,
thanks for talking
absolutely.
about
Thanks for coming. Yeah, I appreciate it.
And don't forget to come by Delicious Orchards anytime you're in the area, or even if you're not, take a trip up here to Route 34 and Cold Snack, try out their apple pies. They won't tell you the recipe, but it does taste delicious, as does the produce and everything else here. You'll always go home happy. Mike, thanks again.
Absolutely.
I'm Vin Avenue here at Delicious Orchards in Cold Snack. Don't forget to visit.